Hey, what's up, guys? Got some PowerShell here. Going to look at some OO design. Utilizing the PowerShell language here. So what we're looking at is a class menu, or the object menu that we are going to. The use case here is you have this huge command line tool that is going to be rendering menus to the user. Okay, now if this was a beautiful UI that was using some type of markup, this would be a bit more intuitive. We'd be using forms to get user input, take the data from those forms, and then do something with them. However, when you're building these command line tools to give to sysadmins some type of analyst of something of some sort, you're just going to give them this tool, and you want it to be intuitive enough, or there's going to be input needed and required that you have to get from them to go ahead and invoke whatever type of action that your tool is built to do. So again, already have a tool out there that has this type of menu sprinkled throughout the code base, and copying and pasting this code every single time, because the logic never changes, the code never changes. That's a perfect use case to create a class. The whole idea of OO is code reuse. So again, I think the menu example as well is a great illustration of a lot of the OO design principles. So let's just get right into it. At the top here, we are importing two namespaces, system. Now, I explicitly define it, but every PowerShell session has system imported already by default. Then we go ahead and we import the system's collection namespace, so then we can use objects like the array list that gives us the add, remove, and all sorts of awesome methods on that object. And we go ahead and we import that namespace so we don't have to type that namespace every single time. Something like this. Right? So we get to use the shorthand, and because that namespace is already in memory. So our menu class here has just 4 properties. We have menu items, menu, return object, and a return build list. And all this is going to make sense as we work through this code. Our menu class has a constructor, and most of your object-oriented languages, the constructor is going to take on the same name as the class. So here, class menu, constructor name is menu, and it's going to take one parameter. It wants an array of objects, and we're naming that items. And then what we do is we loop through the items, and all we're doing is adding them to our object property menu items. And I'm doing that just so we can again get the nice add and remove functions when we want to manipulate the objects in that list. And then what we do here at the constructor is we call on the thisMakeMenu. The makeMenu method is part of this class. We'll go down here and take a look at the makeMenu method, and it's pretty straightforward. In here we instantiate a string builder object, and initialize a count variable. We loop through the menu items that we built upon just in the constructor here. We're filling the menu items array. So here we're going to loop through those objects, and we're just creating a nice little string. And what that's going to have is a nice little bracket here with a number that's incrementing each time through the loop, and then pasting our item there. We're going to append a new line, and we're going to again increment count for each item that's in menu items. Then we go ahead and we say, hey, the this.menu property, which is of type string, is going to equal the string builder that we just created, and then you in order to set that, you have to call the toString method here on the string builder object. So all of that code is getting ran when someone instantiates and uses this constructor. However, we do have the default constructor here configured, so someone could call upon the menu class, pass no parameters, so they would be utilizing this overload, and if they did that, they would get a menu object. However, there wouldn't be any, the state of it would not be in any usable form. Okay, so that's that. We got some two methods here that are showing and illustrating method overloading. So we have the render menu that returns of type object, and then we have another render menu method that takes a message and again returns type object. So again, the point here is just to illustrate method overloading. The logic besides receiving a message within this code is the same, and all we're doing is we're jumping in here and we're setting foreground color to white to ensure that it's white, and we go ahead and loop here, and all we're doing is printing out the menu that was created with this class. We write the this.menu property to the screen, and we're going to go ahead and try to get some user input. So user goes ahead and selects one of those items, which is going to be a number 1 through n. We don't know what that is, but what we do is we want to go ahead and select the object in which the user wants, and we go ahead and we take whatever number they had minus 1, because we know when we are creating the menu we're starting at 1, but all the menu items are going to be starting at index 0. So in order to get the correct item, we want to go ahead and user selected minus 1 on the menu items array there, and then we break out and then we return that object. So the render menu, both methods here, though they are overloading, again the logic is the same. The only thing we're doing here is writing the message, and you'll see an example of that here shortly. Next, what we have is a RenderListBuilder menu, I called it, and again probably could come up with maybe a nicer name. And this takes two parameters, a message and an object name. And the idea behind this method is, we don't know what the user is going to want to configure, so we want to dynamically get those objects with the user inputting those, and we want to this is going to help us build this method here. So like the render menu, we're going to go ahead and write the menu to the screen, get some user input, and we're here to jump down into a try, and we're just validating that, which I should probably put this try and catch into the other methods, because we want to make sure that the user is actually selecting a number and not hitting spacebar or string characters or whatever. So it would just continue to loop until the user actually inputs a number that selects in a menu item. So this code here needs to actually get dropped and up on the other render menus just for some safety. Okay, so then next we just got a CurrentItem variable, and the CurrentItem variable is whatever the user selected minus 1. So just like the code up in the other menus, nothing new there. However, what we're doing here is we've got a temporary list that is called not a temporary list, but it's the return build list property on these objects is in use during this method. And what we're doing is we're adding current items while we're removing that same current item from the menu list, because we're going to loop in here. We're going to continue to render a new updated list, asking the user to press enter to continue to add, or any other key to stop adding those. And again, you can see the use case in this is, hey, I have a number of objects that I want to do something to, or I want the user to tell me what he wants, what those objects are that I need to do something to. This is a method that's going to go ahead and get that for us. So let's go ahead and let's look at these in action. So this first example, hey, you got an array of menu items. And so this one here, these could be function calls, these could be commandlets, several different things. But this one here is, hey, do something cool, do another cool thing, do yet another cool thing. We're going to go and pass those to the that menu constructor, instantiate a menu, and then we are going to render the menu. Oh, and it blew up. I don't think we loaded our class, did we? Let's go ahead and load our class. Clear this out. And execute that. Alright, cool. So, again, each of these methods are going to be printing text to the screen in the same format. So if I say 1, I should get back what? Do something cool. Okay. So, moving on, illustrating method overloading. So this one here is illustrating method overloading. So we're going to take Bob, Sam, and Tom, pass those to create the new menu object. Then we're going to render the menu, passing an overload. And in this case, we're just passing, hey, this is a message or question to present to the user. And again, the use of this is not copying and pasting that logic throughout my entire script or tool. Whenever I want to, render menus to the user. Okay, so, hey, this is a message or question to present to the user. And who do we want? We want okay, that's jacking up. So this runtime down here in this terminal is a bit glitchy sometimes. Let's see if we can get this. Oops. Let's see if we can get this right. Well, what the hell? To clear this. Let's rerun this. Alright, so this is a message. Hey, we want Sam. We should get Sam back, right? There's Sam. There we go. Alright. Next example. Let's go ahead. Next example is going to be calling that RenderListBuilder and give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So go ahead and run this. Oh, let me clear here. Oh, well, first let's look. So we got services. We got the Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard. All right, and we pass that array of services to the menu. We create the menu object. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a services menu, RenderListBuilder menu. All right, and we're going to get here a new. We're going to get an array of objects that we need to do something to. So this RenderListBuilder menu returns a list of objects that we're going to need to operate on. But during the menu builder, or I'm sorry, during the menu, so we're passing, hey, select all services you or a family member has served in, and we're passing what type of objects these are. Well, these are services objects. So let's go ahead and run that. And then what we should do is we're going to loop in there, and we're going to just write to the console, hey, run some code here against that item that was returned in the user created list. And that's just going to illustrate that we get that custom list back that the user gave us some feedback on. So we got the Marines. Press enter to continue to add more services. Sure. So the Marines are gone, and then great grandfather was in the Army. Sure. And then that's it. So now I hit spacebar to escape and run some code here against the Marine object, run some code here against the Army object. All right. So this is a great example here of you already have a fixed clean object, right? It's just simple. There's just these are Army, Marines, and nothing crazy. But what happens if our object has many more properties, and we need to be sure that we are operating on the object like we want to be. So let me exit this out, or not comment that out. So this here, I just could bring an example of the adapters. So I'm using adapters here, but these could be VMs, VApps, data center objects, DHCP pools. I mean, you name it, whatever that object is. However, how do I want the user to display this? And again, it's just really about reusing my menu code. All right, reusing that menu code because the silly rendering of this of menus, copying and pasting that code every single time over and over and over throughout the project becomes very repetitive and bloating. So here I'm going to say, hey, in my adapter menus, I want to sort, so parenthetical get adapters, but I want to only make the adapters menu here. I only want the name property from these adapters. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, hey, which adapters are we going to be configuring? Let's get those. And then because I've only have the name here, I know I need to pass getNet adapter. I need to pass that. I can pass the adapter here, which is nothing more than a name, and this code is good here. So though nothing crazy happening here, we're just doing getNet adapter with a name. However, again, I mean, the logic of what we do once we get those objects is up to us, or whatever the requirement is. So let's go ahead and execute this. All right, so which adapters would you like? Well, I need to configure my Wi-Fi. I need to configure, let's say let's configure a VPN, and that's it. So now Wi-Fi and VPN, if I hit spacebar here, we should just be getting those objects back, and then we're getting that adapters. Okay, so again, nothing fancy. Just wanted to capture this simple idea of the menu as a great use case again. Now, if this is a 20-liner, you know, and you just banging it out in your ISC or whatever, that's fine. However, if this is going to be a more extensive tool, and you find yourself copying and pasting, which I have in one of the projects I'm working on, copying and pasting this menu type code to render to a screen, that's a great opportunity that you need to go ahead and make a class so you can keep your code clean, readable, and more manageable. And again, this menu class I just spit out could obviously need some work, maybe tweak it a little bit. So whatever feedback you guys got, please send my way. If you guys need any work done, let me know. Appreciate you. Bye.